Hey, welcome! Today, we're jumping into one of the most mind-blowing frontiers in medicine, the secret connection between your gut and your brain. And believe me, this isn't just interesting, it's completely rewriting the rule book on everything from our mood to how well we sleep. So yeah, let's just dive right in.
So let's kick things off with a pretty radical question. What if a huge piece of the puzzle for our mental health isn't actually in our head at all? What if we've been looking in the wrong place and the real key is in our gut? And to get a sense of why this is so important, you just have to look at this number. According to the World Health Organization, over 280 million people worldwide are affected by depression. That is a staggering figure. It's one of the biggest health challenges we face, and it's exactly why scientists are so desperate to find new approaches, new ways of thinking about it.
And that search is leading them to a place many now call our second brain. And no, that's not just a cute nickname. It's a real, incredibly complex communication superhighway called the gut-brain axis. Okay, so what is this so-called second brain? Well, the scientific name for it is the microbiota gut-brain axis. The easiest way to think about it is like a constant two-way telephone line. Your brain is always sending signals down to your gut, sure. But, and this is the part that changes everything, the trillions of tiny microbes living in your gut are constantly talking right back to your brain, and they have a huge say in how you think and feel.
So how does that conversation actually happen? Well, your gut microbes are like tiny little chemical factories. They're busy producing neurotransmitters you've definitely heard of. And here's the absolute showstopper. Over 90%, you heard that right, 90% of your body's serotonin, the happy chemical, is made in your gut, not your brain. These chemical messages then travel up this massive nerve, the vagus nerve, which is basically a direct hotline to your brain where they can influence your mood, your stress levels, you name it.
This incredible science has opened the door for some therapies that sound like they're straight out of science fiction. So to really see this in action, let's zoom in on a fascinating new study that's putting all of this theory to the test. Okay, so the therapy is called fecal microbiota transplantation, or FMT. And yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a procedure where you transfer gut microbes from a healthy person into a patient, with the goal of totally resetting their gut ecosystem. I know, it sounds pretty wild, but this is a very serious and honestly, a very promising field of research. And this is not just some fringe idea with one or two small studies. There's real data here. A huge meta-analysis, that's basically a study of studies, pulled together the results from 12 high-quality randomized trials. And the conclusion? It was clear. FMT led to a significant reduction in depressive symptoms. When you put the results side by side, it's pretty stunning. The group of people who got the actual FMT saw a really big, meaningful drop in their depression symptoms. The scientific term for it, the effect size, was really strong. It was way, way better than what you saw in the groups that got a placebo. This suggests we're looking at a powerful, real-world effect. But get this, they even dug into the details of how the FMT was given. And it turns out, both ways they tested, taking it in oral capsules or having it delivered directly into the GI tract, both worked. But the direct delivery method seemed to have a slight edge, a slightly stronger positive effect. So, the million-dollar question, how long does it last? Well, the benefits were definitely there in the short term, up to about a month. They were even stronger in that 2 to 5 month window. But once they got to the 6-month mark and beyond, the effects started to fade away. So what that tells us is, yeah, this is a powerful treatment, but the next big puzzle for scientists is figuring out how to make those benefits stick around for the long haul. And here it is. This is the detail that just makes it all click into place. The study found that this antidepressant effect was even stronger for patients who also happen to suffer from irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. I mean, wow. It's such a powerful piece of evidence showing that gut health and mental health really are two sides of the very same coin. So we've seen this really powerful link to depression, but the influence of our gut, it doesn't stop there, not even close. Let's zoom back out for a minute and see how this same gut-brain conversation impacts another massive part of our daily health, sleep. What researchers are discovering is that this is a classic two-way street. So on one hand, getting poor sleep can directly harm your gut. It messes with your good bacteria and can even damage the lining of your intestines. But it works the other way too. An unhealthy, imbalanced gut can seriously mess up your sleep. We see direct links between gut imbalances and insomnia, and you can see how that could easily become a vicious cycle. And if we zoom into the microscopic level, the picture gets even clearer. We can literally see which bacteria are involved. For example, the lactobacillus family These are guys known for producing calming chemicals. Their numbers go down when you don't get enough sleep. At the same time, bacteria that make these awesome anti-inflammatory compounds, well, they're often much lower in people who have insomnia. It's a direct biological link. So after all that, what is the big takeaway here? I think what we're seeing is the very beginning of a revolution in medicine. One where we finally see the gut microbiome not as a sideshow, but as an essential player in our health. And that opens up an entirely new toolkit for doctors. We've talked a lot about FMT, but that's just one piece. Scientists are looking at everything from probiotics, which are the good bacteria themselves, to prebiotics, which is basically the food that helps those good bugs grow, and even postbiotics, which are the amazing chemicals those microbes produce. Okay, now, as exciting as all of this sounds, we have to keep our feet on the ground. It is super important to remember that this is a very new science. Even the researchers in that big FMT study we looked at were careful to rate the certainty of their evidence as low to very low. Now, that doesn't mean the effect isn't real. It just means we're in the early days, and we need more, bigger, and longer studies before this can become a standard treatment.
And that leaves us with one final big question to think about. As we learn more and more about this incredible world living inside of us, are we heading for a future of medicine that's maybe a little less about pharmacology and a lot more about microbiology? A future where we focus less on inventing new drugs and more on cultivating the microbial allies we already have? It's a huge shift in thinking, and it all starts with a gut